Te Totara stars.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a Year 6 student at Te Totara Primary School. Today I'm interviewing Mrs. Fraser. She was working at Te Totara on the first day it opened back on the 4th of February 2008 and is still working here today. Hi, Mrs. Fraser.
Hi, Daniel.
What was your job before you started working at Te Totara, and what made you decide to apply to work at Te Totara?
Thanks, Daniel. I was the deputy principal at St Columba's School in Hamilton, which was a school of about 500 students at that time, and I'd been working there for quite a few years. And when I saw this opportunity come up to be a part of a new school that was going to be starting off small but growing into a really big school, I thought, wow, I'd really like to do that. And my strength area was all around the curriculum. I love the curriculum, and that's what the role was all about. So it seemed perfect for me.
Thank you. What do you remember about the first day?
Lots of excitement. We were really excited by that stage to get started and to have children. I'd been working with Mr. Sheedy since the middle of 2007. We were working at Banquet School, and when I went there was just Mr. Sheedy and myself in a classroom. And it was quite funny because Mr. Sheedy liked to sit in the shade and I liked to sit in the sun, and I liked the winter sun, so he was right over one side of the room and I was right over the other side of the room, which was a bit strange for a while until we got to know each other and had lots of laughs. So we were really looking forward to really getting on with the business of coming to school and starting the school after all the planning. So the first day there was lots of excited parents, and they were a little bit worried that this was a big thing for them, coming to a whole new school that had never been here before that time. And there was also quite a lot of building still going on, and they had to walk up a dirt track. There was no proper road, and but I just remember the sun was shining, the children were happy, the families were happy. We only had 58 children, so we knew all of them by name. We'd enrolled them all, and we had our staff here, and they were really excited to get going too. And we had our cutting ceremony of the ribbon that we had in this area, so everybody got a piece of the ribbon. It was a lovely day, and it was good to get started after all the planning.
Thank you. What was the first year like?
It was really busy. Even though we only had the 58 children, we had children from 5 to children who were in our year 6. So we had all the levels, and we had a lot of work that we needed to do around our curriculum and around our systems and our processes. And we also had teachers that had come from other schools to this school, so we had to build what we call our culture, what we believed in at Te Totara. And so things like the stars, they were developed in that year. And the way that we do things here at Te Totara, all of that was developed. So there was lots of systems and processes, which sounds a bit boring, I know, but that's the stuff that kind of glues the school together. So it was a busy year for all of those things. And we had some wonderful things that we shared with the children as well.
What are some of the most memorable things that have happened during your time at Te Totara School?
There's a lot that's in those first few months even that were really interesting. The memorable things, when we were at Banquet School, before we started here, we built up lots of readers and lots of resources, and we had a whole lot of stuff that was coming out to this new school when we were able to get here, which was in December before the school opened. And so we got a big delivery truck was arriving with all our furniture and things like that, and we came out all excited, and even people like Mr. Fraser came out to help on that day to move all the stuff in. And so the truck came in and it drove around the side of this building here, and it got stuck. And it was very stuck. And it was a big truck. and it couldn't go forward and it couldn't go backwards. And so we all had to problem solve and work our way out around how we were going to get that truck out of there and where we were going to put the things, because a lot of the buildings weren't really finished at that stage too. So there was a lot of problem solving around that. And then another one of the funny things that happened was that when we got here, this building was nearly ready, and Marama block and Milky Way block were sort of ready, enough to have classes in them, but they were building at that time the Matariki area there. So we had our staff room was in this block, and they were building the Orion block and the Matawhero block. And we were often getting told to shift our cars around because they were just in a dirt patch over there. So Mrs. Fraser had a little blue car at that time, a little blue Suzuki Swift. I've got a red one now, but I had a blue Suzuki Swift, and I loved my Suzuki Swift. Anyway, we got a call to say we needed to go and shift our cars. And I was just in the middle of doing something, and I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that shortly, but I've just got to finish what I'm doing first. Well, that wasn't a very good idea, because when I went out to shift my car, the builders had dug a big, like a moat all the way around it. So my car was sitting on the top of a mountain of dirt, and there was a big moat all around it. And then there were all these workmen that were sitting there saying, should have come before. And I had to work out how I was going to get my car from the top of that hill down and out from there. So there was lots and lots of problem solving. We had lots of funny things like that happened. There was another day when Mr. Sheedy borrowed my car, which he was often doing at that time, I have to tell you, because he'd walk to school. He borrowed my car to go and get something from his house, and I was doing a meeting in the meeting room, and the next thing I heard, there was horns blowing and there was lights flashing, and I looked out, and Mr. Sheedy had come around in my car around the side of the Orion building, and Mrs. Fletcher was teaching in that class at the time, and her children were all in there, and he was coming through just by the classroom windows, and on the other side of him was the veranda. So he was coming through that gap, and the hazard lights were on, and he was beeping and waving out the window. So we had some very silly times at that time, which we could do too. So we had lots and lots of fun, but we also worked really, really hard in that first year.
How are things different from now from when you started?
Well, we're a much, much bigger school. That's probably the biggest difference. Is when I started, we had 58 children. Today we've got 790 children. But something that strikes me that's still the same is that we had a school that was like a family there, then, like a small family, and now we've got a school that's like a big family. But we're still a family school, and that's really important and precious to us. And things like the stars that we all believe in, all those things that we live by here at school, and often children live by at home too, and we all try to do that at home, that kind of keeps us the same to manage through the differences. We've got a much bigger staff. In those days we only had about 8 teachers, and now we've got, when I photocopy off things for people, I think I have to run about 50, because we've got part-time teachers as well as full-time teachers. And then we've got after-school care, and everything is growing. We've got some really good systems, and we've got 2 caretakers, and then actually Mr. Sheedy was the caretaker to start off with. He was the principal and the caretaker at the school. So we've just grown so big, and more classes. But because I'm in charge of the sport team, I'm really wanting to still have our good sport areas and things, even though we have to grow more classes. Mrs. Fraser really makes sure that we've still got plenty of area to run around, and we've got playgrounds. We've got the satellite school, which is fantastic. So that was sort of something that's new. So and when I was first here, there was just the school, and there was lots of like paddocks around, and the cows were there, Still, out of Mrs. Fraser's window here, I can see grass. And I can't see cows anymore. I could see cows before, but I can't see them now. I can see lots of earthworks and things going on, and I know that very soon there's probably going to be houses over there too. But I enjoy looking at the wide open spaces at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. You've done a really good job.